Now this looks strange. It looks like crawl marks. I've never seen this before in any of the panorama shots, but if you pan in on this one, it seems to be a pathway around these rocks, and there it is there. It's gorged out, and it leads right to this thing here. Look at it. It looks like a path. You've got these bizarre holes here as well, in the grey area between the rocks. That's what it looks like. Now I'll actually show you how I got here. So you'll have to pan around and catch these rocks here, and where that mountain range ends. So that rock would be right in the center, and you just zoom in there. Look at that. That looks like that's a drag mark, or a crawl mark, or a walkway. And that leads up to that hill there and around it. You can see how it's been worn out around that mountain range there, those rocks. And we'll see what else we can find in this area. But look at it. It goes zigzag, and it goes straight to that rock. And it seems that was actually produced by that rock, that crawl mark. Look at it. It's as though that thing there is actually producing that mark that goes all the way around. But obviously it just looks like a rock, so I'll have to enlarge that picture. But something there doesn't add up. So I'll see how far I can actually zoom into that picture. And that's the first evidence I've found of actually anything leaving some sort of crawl mark. And it looks quite interesting. There's that very strange shape next to it. It's producing a shadow as well. And then you've got these holes. I think we've found something. We've got these holes here, right in between the rock face, and that pathway leads up to there as well. And you've got that strange thing coming over right there into that pathway. So I'll just try to enlarge those holes, and that strange thing looks like a big worm or something like that that's actually sitting there on the edge. And then you see the pathway that drags to that rock there. Okay, I'll just analyze these photos. Now the general rule of thumb is if you find something in one area, you pan around it, you'll probably find some other things that resemble the type of thing you found. And here it is as well. There's these tubular things look like life forms or plant growth right there. You've got beautiful rock shapes, and then we found that pathway. So see that there? I've actually taken pictures which I'll analyze. And there's great rocks here. They're huge, but the part that I found peculiar was that pathway that led from one rock, and it was very bizarre. And that's the one that I focused in on right there. That's a pathway, isn't it? It's as though a creature or something like that is using it. Now if you look closer, there's two like holes in the edge of that, and it leads out, and there's something there that looks like an arthropod, or just around the edge there. It just looks very camouflaged. And then the way I found that was I just kept panning up and looking at all the strange rock forms, trying to find something similar, and that I then found that blue type of growth. So the rocks are wonderful, but then you'll see things that look more like some sort of growths actually. And the fun part is hunting through these images. They're great. Now these are the pictures which I'm going to analyze. Now it's very bizarre. I just had a thought that in deserts on Earth, most of the creatures come out at night time. They don't want to lose moisture during the sunlight. So this is just bizarre. It's from the Rocknest panorama shot, and you'll see a crawl mark, and it is a definite crawl mark that leads to what looks like a rock. On its own, that's fine, but in between the rocks, it looks like we've got these openings there, and what looks like a curled up, it's actually like some sort of a rattlesnake or something, or it's actually coming over the edge there. So it's just strange how that could be a natural formation, especially with those holes there. Let's enlarge the picture. There's that thing. Obviously it's a rock, unless it's a creature that uses camouflage to look like a rock. I mean, this is another planet we're talking about. We've got this curled up thing here that's coming over the edge there. We have a pathway between the rocks that leads to these openings inside. Now I have to try to play around now to get the best image quality. Here are those holes. The pathway leads down. There's a pathway that goes all the way around those boulders, and then we've got this thing curled up here that's sticking up, and that's coming over there. And looks, it just doesn't look like it's a rock. Let's now play around with the detail and exposure. Trying to get the detail up. If we go more on the highlights, makes it too bright. So generally I found that this works the best. Actually, this round thing's turned up on this object. I think that this object could be alive and it's camouflaged. Sounds bizarre, but it's just left its own crawl marks. Now if we can put the brightness up here, yes, now we can see things. Now if I play around with the contrast, let's now enlarge it. That definitely looks like it's left that crawl mark. Now up there we definitely see those openings or holes. This leads to that pathway there, and this is something curled up there. It's like a big rattlesnake. Now we do see that thing sticking up in the middle. I can't see how this could be a natural rock formation. I think this is a live object, and we've got it just coming over into that crawl mark left. So this is not rock, it's actually dirt, and this is coming over into that. So obviously it's coming into it after it was made. Look at it, it just seems to be curled up there, and we haven't thought of one important thing. Should we have infrared cameras on this on these Mars rovers there? Could we be picking up things at night time using infrared, which we wouldn't see during the day? Now this could be a prime example. It just sounds far-fetched, but we found water ponds, we found rocks, dirt, sunlight. There shouldn't be a reason things shouldn't be alive up there. They don't want us to think that, because then it opens up a whole can of worms. And excuse the pun, I think these look like worm-like objects. It's actually some type of, it's curled up in that formation, it's coming over the edge there, and there's a trail that leads up to these holes in between the rocks. So we can enlarge it more. No, we start to lose formation there. So yeah, that doesn't look normal at all. Let's go to the next picture. So we've analyzed this one. I think that could be an object that looks like a rock, actually. Here we go. This is good. I've tried to zoom in. So in this picture, I've zoomed in to those holes left in between the rock ledges. That thing curled up on the... let's see if we can play with this one here. Noise reduction, color, and exposure to bring that up. Something is definitely curled up there, and these are definite holes on the side, and there's a trail there. Can we play around with the detail more? Maybe. Exposure. Highlights. Actually, the highlights there, they bring up that object curled around, and that looks like a little tail sticking up. Look at it. There's a thing sticking up there, and then it goes all the way around. Now, rattlesnakes in the desert hide under rocks during the day, and they come out at night. So, obviously, if this is a desert environment, the creatures can lose moisture, which is very vital. There's not much of it. So they'll be hidden during the daytime and come out during the night time. Let's now start to enlarge this. There's something there. That doesn't look like a normal pattern. We see a crawl mark, trail mark that leads to that object that looks like a rock. It could be camouflaged. It could be a live object that looks like a rock. And then we've got this thing curled up that's coming over the edge into that pathway there. To me, it's very suspicious. Let's go to the next one. This is a zoom in of those two holes that lead down to that curved object. See if we can play with this first. We haven't done that much. We've actually made it worse, I think. Analyze. Exposure. Highlights. There we go. We brought something up here. It just doesn't look normal, have these holes leading to that pathway down there. Contrast. Not much to be done. That's as much as I can do with that. If we increase the brightness, it might bring some stuff up. That's about it. See what I mean? There's too many things going on there just to be unnatural formations or natural rocks. Let's go to the next picture. This is that thing that is curled up and comes around into the pathway produced by the rock down the bottom, an object that looks like a rock. So here we have now that object there. If we can really zoom in on that, it just looks like a there it is there. We're trying to bring up the shape of it, but it looks curled up. There's a thing sticking up, and then it comes over the side there. Our body looks hard-shelled on the outside, and that's one way of conserving moisture in the desert. Usually there's arthropods and worms. Here we go there. Let's try to just bring up the shape of it. There it is. There's 2 or 3 lumps, and then down there you've got like a process that's not curved totally. I don't think it's a rock. It just doesn't seem a rock would be in that position and also be over the pathway that's been left, or the drag marks. I think we're onto something here. It's the first time I've seen this on any of the Mars images, where it's actually a type of and here's something else that seems to come out of that hole. This is one other picture. It could be a growth, it could be crystalline, but it definitely shows something that comes out of a hole, and yet doesn't look like it's an accidental rock formation. And that's it there. Now, as we went further on, we found this other thing which looked like a same as that thing that was curled up. It's purple and knobbly. I've seen really bizarre blue rocks, but I don't think this would be similar to those blue rocks. Look at that. Is it some sort of cactus growth, or is it a live object? I don't know, but that's it there. But obviously we have no crawl marks or trail marks on that one. Okay, I think the important one here, here's one more object coming out of a hole. There's the hole. There's the object coming out of it. Exposure. color, and then we'll try to adjust the detail more using this. Again, on its own, it isn't enough. On its own, it's not enough. This is, this one looks good. We'll analyze it later. It just looks like something curved up. I can't see how it can be a rock or a crystal. See what I mean? It looks bizarre, but that's in the next episode. So this one, we've analyzed. I'll now revert these back to the originals. We've analyzed this picture, which has these crawl marks left by that object, and the crawl marks lead directly to that object, and the object looks camouflaged. It looks like a rock, but somehow to leave that crawl mark, it isn't a rock. And there's a thing curled up there that's coming over that crawl edge. It could be hunting it. That's a new thought. It could be hunting the object producing that crawl mark. Is that possible? I didn't think of that before. It looks like a curled up object there. It's just starting to come over. And that thing just, there's the trail mark. And here are these holes in the side of the rock formation, which could have other creatures in there. Okay, that's all.